Brian Howell here at Pro Video Coalition. I'm with Ryan Avery. We're talking Lensfinder. We're talking Tokina. First of all, I'm in my garage. Ryan is in his house, and it is NAB at home. Lensfinder has done, they've waived fees, if I'm correct, because of the times that we're in. I'm going to turn to Ryan. Ryan, how you doing?
Yeah, I'm doing good. Yeah, it's great to see you under these circumstances. So a lot of ways it's good. We're getting a chance to talk face to face, more focused than we would with a few thousand of our closest friends running around on the NAB floor. So in some ways that's good.
It's good. In many ways, this has been, we've been able to do deeper dives because as you are well aware, 15 minutes on the NAB floor is like a massive amount of time, and you're always jockeying for position and elbowing people, and we're not elbowing anyone close to us anymore.
Yeah, right. Okay, well, talking about Lensfinder, Lensfinder.com is a marketplace for buying and selling lenses. We added cameras as well as accessories a while ago. Lensfinder is different in that it has a very focused search tool, so you can look only for anamorphic lenses from the 1970s, or you can only look for, Canon glass or whatever it is you're looking for, or, not mention the brand and just say, I want these characteristics. So it's really good at search, and we're trying to be a little more focused. Initially, we launched it in 2017 with about a 4% fee, plus the PayPal fees. And we actually had a very high number of users. We were really happy with the number of people that were shopping on the site. And a lot of people said, hey, there's not that many lenses on Lensfinder. It's because they were selling really fast, quite frankly. Like, people get them on there, and because it's so focused, people are like, oh, I got to get that, and they sell it. So we did the fees for a while, and then we found that people were doing pretty much anything they could not to pay the fee. They were sending carrier pigeons and talking in code on messages, and that's fine. So we just said, you know what, people obviously don't want to pay a fee, and that's fine. So we made Lensfinder free. So now Lensfinder is 100% free. You can list, you can sell. We still have the added security of PayPal checkout, but there's no fees from us. You still have to pay the PayPal fee, which you would anyway. But if you want to do your transaction under the freeway with a bag of cash, have at it. Like, we're just trying to make as big of a resource as we can for people to shop for lenses and have fun. And so that's why we made it free. And since it's been free, the traffic has increased, and we're still seeing quite a few listings. So we're happy about that.
So, I mean, they still have to conduct business. I mean, how is Lensfinder able to give this away free? They still have to keep the doors open.
We haven't figured that out, but we knew that the only way forward was to make it free because people were trying so hard not to pay for the service. So we just said, you know what, make it free and we'll figure it out later. You could or could not believe the amount of money it takes to make a site like that. So we've considered, give us $1 donation things all the way up to some type of advertising. We haven't really figured that out, and we kind of don't care at this point. We're just really focused on building the community, and business has a way of working itself out later. And we have already invested countless hours of our own time into it. So we're just in it and having fun, and maybe one day we'll get that money back somehow. And if we don't, at least we can say we connected everybody and helped them find lenses.
I've been guilty of doing the eBay dive for lenses, or bidding on, eBay is not the best place because someone might misspell, like Nikkor is a good example, or they might list it as Nikon. So you might be completely out of a whole section of sales. Lensfinder kind of hopefully, I'm not buying a whole lot of lenses right now, so I can't tell you I know right now, for example. But Lensfinder seems to solve a lot of those eBay problems, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does, because of the search. We require you to put in the brand. Some people see that as a negative because they want to look for the guy that's listing his Nikkor lens spelled with a C or 4Ks or something. You know, they see that as an opportunity, but end of the day, we want people to be able to find the lenses, find the accurate information. Sometimes people put the wrong information on listings. It's not our responsibility to make it accurate, but we do get in contact with them and ask them to update, or they can authorize us to update their listing if they want. And we try really hard to create data accuracy and expand our search, because the search is really the key to the site. I mean, you can just punch in whatever you want with click boxes, search by f-stop, whatever, and you can find all kinds of weird, wild stuff you didn't even know existed by the attribute that you're looking for.
Is there a way to, because eBay is like the Wild West for production equipment. You might get a mic that's never worked. I would never buy audio on eBay, by the way. But like you might have found like your vintage Dream Glass, like a 50, you know, f/0.95, only for you to realize that what you couldn't see in the photo is like something's broken or the iris is frozen. How is Lensfinder making sure that you don't run into those same problems that we have on the internet marketplace?
Basically, what we do is we offer mediation between the transaction. We can provide a lot of data for the users on, we keep all that, we take privacy very seriously, but we can find people if we have to, help find people. And we can also tell people, you know, either side, buyer or seller, what we know and what's going on. That's why we highly encourage the use of PayPal, because they have very strong seller and buyer protection. And that's why we have not removed that from our site. We don't take any fees out of the transaction, but if you check out with PayPal on the site, you still retain all of those buyer and seller protections. And also, we have a pretty good way of knowing. We check out each user. If someone registers, we check them out. We go, okay, you know, does this person have a Facebook profile that appears to match the production community or photography, or, you know, is it, do they have a website? You know, things like that. We really check people out to make sure that everything's on the up and up. We can't guarantee it. We are just a middleman, but at the end of the day, we try really, really hard to make sure that it is a focused marketplace with real users. And we do spot the fakes and weed them out as much as possible. So those are the things that you get.
How long can Lensfinder continue down this business of no fees? I mean, you know, I'm imagining the pots aren't bottomless. I mean, I know mine isn't. How long can people expect to see the no fees?
We are very committed to making this thing work, and there's just two of us that run the company, and we still pour our time into it. And so we see it as a resource, and we're going to keep going. Eventually, we'll either have to just be honest with people and say, look, if you guys want this to go on, you got to give us $5 each or whatever. Or, you know, we'll take on some advertisers, but we're really trying to keep it very pure and simple. So indefinitely, I couldn't say an exact timeline on that, but we've reached a point that's fairly easy to keep the code and other things up to date. So we could carry on with our kind of look. You know, eventually it'll look, you know, outdated or whatever, or if we don't decide to put in the time or resources to coding more. But we are certainly dedicated to it as it is, and looking for the foreseeable future to keep it free.
If someone wants to donate, someone who's bought a lens, and it's okay paying it, you know, a little donation at $10 or $20 or $5 or whatever, how can they do that?
You can contact us on our support line. That isn't an official business model that we've decided on yet, but if you really want to help us out, you can contact us on our support line, which is WTF@lensfinder.com.
Okay, thank you. Let's go. Lensfinder's not all we're here to talk about. We're also here to talk about Tokina lenses, some diffusion filters. I saw you all teasing on social media some diffusion filters. I love diffusion, by the way, especially now that we have sharper lenses. Taking that edge off is sometimes really, really nice feeling to the image. So what did I see? That's a really weird question to ask. What did you post recently about diffusion filters for Tokina?
We've had the diffusion filters for Tokina for about a year now, but we haven't really done a good job of getting them outside the box. They have been picked up by some rental companies, features and productions through the rental world. But basically what we did is I've been working in diffusion filter development since about 2007 when I was working with Schneider Optics. I helped with the design specification for the Hollywood Black Magic, which is one of the most popular filters used today, and a bunch of filters that came out after that. And through that experience, I learned that, and then I also I always spend a lot of time visiting rental companies like Panavision and Airy and Rental and all these different large and small rental companies, finding out what they rent. And so I gathered a bunch of data, about 3,000 features, data on what filters were used on about 3,000 feature films, commercials, documentaries, whatever. And I consolidated all that data into what type of diffusion filter it is, because all diffusion filters, no matter what kind of dark arts the manufacturer is pitching to you, really it only affects 3 areas of your image. It affects resolution, halation or bloom to highlights, and contrast. And so I narrowed that down because I know what the different filter types from different manufacturers do, boiled that all in the soup on the big data, and came out with 5 filter types that the entire world is using. Basically, there's only 5 types of filters, combinations thereof, that really aggregate about 90% of film and commercial production. So with this powerful data, I was able to go back and develop 5 diffusion filters for Tokina that really matched that specification. So the first one is the pearlescent filter, which is a very dreamy-like look. And you can go to TokinaCinemaUSA.com and visit our cinema filter section, or Tokina Cinema USA on YouTube to see these examples. But the pearlescent is a very strong kind of dreamy effect, really strong highlight blooms, great for fashion and other things where you're really going for that ethereal look. A similar filter is the clear super mist, but it controls the highlights bloom a little bit more. Basically, these 2 filters have a very fine particulate that's made out of a certain type of rock that is crushed into an extremely fine powder that are the size of a pixel or smaller. And it creates light wrapping around the pixels, which gives you a look. And so the pearlescent and the clear super mist are kind of in that family of really dreamy type looks. And then the black super mist, which is very similar to the Tiffin Black Pro Mist and the Schneider Black Frost. This filter is literally like 70% of film production uses this filter. It's like the not so secret weapon. And the black super mist raises contrast, or sorry, lowers contrast a little bit. It'll raise up your black levels. It blooms highlights very slightly in a very pleasing way, and it reduces fine detail resolution, which is not overall resolution. Your lens is still just as sharp as it was, but it just kind of takes the edge off some of those really fine frequency details, like really fine fabric or wrinkles or blemishes. So that filter is extremely important. And also it compresses the IRE, which means that your highlights go down about 10% and your black levels come up about 10%, which enables you in post to really mess with your highlights in order to get more detail out of them. And also your black levels, it gives you a lot more flexibility in your image. So the pearlescent, the clear super mist, black super mist, and then we have our soft res filter, which is a very slight look, which just affects resolution only. It's just this very slight look that cuts down on wrinkles and blemishes only. And then we took the 2 together with kind of like peanut butter and jelly, and we took the black super mist and the soft res and put them together to make our black alchemy filter, which is this really nice soft flare that's very well controlled. But noticeable more so than the soft res significantly, and it also really cuts down that resolution, the fine resolution. So those are the 5 types. It's literally almost everything everybody's using, no matter who they are, when they use filters, and we made it easy.
It's interesting to have like a data-driven mindset of what is being used and who, because I mean, if you just dive into the web, and you'll find like thousands of different types of filters and strengths, and you start wondering if you don't have time to test or the facility to test, like, do I need this? Do I need that? Do I need this? So it's nice to see just the 5.
Yeah, we based that on real data. So we shot their samples with the Airy Mini and the Tokina Vista Prime lenses, and so we've given some examples of clean and not, to give people a look, which a lot of manufacturers have done. But there's just this soup out there of like all kinds of stuff, and they're all great filters, but they're all like tweaked to a specific look, and not everybody has time to shoot that. So we just boiled it down to what what people should be using. It is 2020 after all, and data is the way to go. So that's what we did.
Plus, it's like, it's your money. If I'm a DP and I have a filter box there of vintage diffusion filters that have the glass has been etched, so you literally can't tell if your image is in focus with those filters. That's how heavy they are. But I want to spend my money on the things I'm going to use, and that I'm going to use for a while. And knowing that probably the camera is going to be the kind of investment that doesn't last the longest. But filters and lenses, and monitors and batteries and tripods, those are the things I know if I spend my money on it, I'm going to use those and get the right stuff. I'm going to use it for 10, 15 years, as long as I don't drop that filter. What strengths are these? Do you guys have the full strength of these filters? So you can get like the kit, or how has Tokina boiled that down for purchasing for someone like me?
So we offer 4 different strengths, which is it's really common. Most manufacturers, we really couldn't do anything with the strength thing. It just is what it is. The 1/8, 1/4, 1/2, and 1/8 being the lightest. And in the black super mist, we actually make a 16th and a 32nd, which is more or less like the second AC sneezed on the filter from 20 feet away. It's like so light you can barely tell. But we do have those, and the strengths are what they are. We show them on the website. Generally, the thing to know about diffusion filters in general, which a lot of people don't realize, is wide angle versus telephoto will affect the same strength. And more importantly, their delivery platform. We made the 16th and 32nd Black Frost and Clear Super Mist specifically for really like IMAX large. If you put it up on a big screen in fine resolution, you can really tell. And also that has to do with post-production workflow choices, because so much of feature content work goes through post that the DP has no control over whatsoever. So they'll put a slight little spin on it in camera that can't be taken away but isn't too strong. And then if you're doing streaming content, if you're pushing your stuff out to Instagram and Facebook, you can barely tell. That's why our examples with the compression, our examples are all in the half strength online, because in our social media posts, because you can't tell otherwise. So you really got to consider all that when you're shooting the strengths. But in general, stronger strengths are for web content delivery that's not noticeable, that's highly compressed, and the lighter strengths would be for theatrical or 4K type applications.
Can you talk about how also focal length can may change the strengths used to, if you want to best match from a wide shot to a close-up?
Yeah, it's generally, I don't have an exact formula for it, but generally a longer tight telephoto is going to necessitate a half strength lower on the wide. So if you have a 25 millimeter lens on super, APS-C or Gemini or Area Miro or Canon Super 35 cameras, you're gonna want to use like an 1/8 on the wide and a 1/4 on the telephoto. So if your telephoto is like a 100 or a 75 or an 80 or 85, something like that, you're gonna want to go up 1 strength generally on the telephoto to get the same effect.
Back in the day when I was in film school, we also learned how you would change the apertures from telephoto to wide, so your bokeh would be the same depending on the lens. It seems like those are bygone days that I don't use anymore, because it is what it is. I'm not making feature films, so I don't have to worry about some of that. Well, filters are just a piece of the puzzle here. Tokina has some marvelous zooms that are for Super 35, but on the longer ends, they have a larger image circle. Sorry, my speech impediment's coming out that I grew up with. On the longer ends of these lenses, from the 50 to 135, it has more than Super 35 coverage. Is that correct?
Yeah, so Tokina has their cinema series, or their Super 35 series, which originally was the 11 to 16, and the 50 to 135 Mark I. They've redone those. The 11 to 20 is the new version of the wide, and the 50 to 135 Mark II. So the 11 to 20 on 11 millimeters, it's going to cover basically APS-C sensors. And then at about 13, 14 millimeters, it'll cover APS-H, which is like the Red Gemini. And then at 16 to 20, there's actually an orange marking on the lens barrel, which denotes full frame. So it'll cover 24 by 36 full frame, like the new Canon C300, I think it's Mark III, and some of the other full frame cameras out there. It will cover those on the wider. And then the 50 to 135 telephoto lenses in general cover more. At 50, it's going to cover 4K UHD on most formats, pretty much all the cameras I can think of, including the LF, Arri LF Mini. But the longer focal lengths, it'll cover very generously, almost full frame. We don't market them as full frame lenses because the area of definition is intended to be the sharpest point of the lens across the frame is intended to be the APS-C, APS-H format, but it will put out a light circle that's much bigger called the area of illumination. So things get a little bit softer at the corners, but not overly noticeable. And we get the 50 to 135. I keep seeing people, because you can hold it in your hand. It's really quite small. So people will use it on the larger formats even so. And then Tokina makes a 1.6 expander, which you can put on. It's 1.6 more focal length and a stop and a third light loss, but that is designed to take most Super 35 lenses of any manufacturer and make them cover full frame VistaVision. So there's lots of options, and you can combine those with the 11 to 20 and the 50 to 135 to get yourself a full frame zoom that's quite small.
In last year at NAB, we saw a new version of the Tokina zooms with the 50 to 135, which was a little bit smaller, right?
Yeah.
And then we have the 16 to 28, right? And then the 11 to 20. I have the original 11 to 16, by the way. I still have my original copy. I refuse to get rid of it. This is just too good of a lens. It's great for time lapses. But the 16 to 28 has a orange mark, you said, where you will denote where the image circle will cover full frame, but it's just not going to be perfect on the edges of the frame, correct?
Yeah, it's the 11 to 20 that has the orange markings. The 16-28 is a full frame lens that we manufacture, which is a different beast. The 11 to 20 and the 50 to 135 Mark II are both 95 millimeters on the outside, and they take an 86 millimeter filter thread, so they're very, very compact. And the 11 to 20 has the orange markings at 16 to 20 that says, hey, you can go full frame in this range.
Okay. I mean, 16 millimeters is very wide for a full frame camera. Yeah,
that's equivalent of like a 12 millimeter on Super 35, something like that. It's
and 12 millimeters, you're looking at like a specialty, lens. If you're shooting, I don't know, some documentaries, you might want that. It's a really unique look. I've shot on 16 millimeter on Super 35, and that's still a unique look.
The 11 to 20 is really popular for gimbal use. It really, really gives you that wide look and versatility to punch into 20. The thing that was missing on the 11 to 16, which the 11 to 16 is how Tokina got started in the cinema business. That was a photo lens that Duclos Lenses in Los Angeles started putting gears on for motion picture use because people found it very useful. And then Tokina did a factory production version. And the 11 to 20 is the update. So you really get a lot of coverage there. That extra percentage between 16 and 20 is pretty significant. And we're seeing a ton of use on drones and gimbals and handheld use, car shots, that sort of thing. And it's only $2,500 US. So, it's extremely affordable, as is the 50 to 135.
Actually, the last time I used my 11 to 16 was with the Pocket 6K, which is it's Super 35, a little slightly smaller. And I was on a gimbal. Because it was a perfect, a little wide and go to the 16 and get a little tighter. And is there anything else that you would like to talk about from Tokina? Like, do you have anything coming down you might want to hint at, or?
Yeah, we were supposed to announce it at NAB and we didn't, and we're still waiting on the official announcement. But I'm very excited to see Tokina continue to fill out this Super 35 zoom range. So we are going to very soon announce and release for next year a middle range zoom between 11 to 20 and 50 to 135 to give you 3 Super 35 zooms / full frame when you push them lenses that cover 11 to 150, all 3 of them we're hoping for about 11,000 total. So, going to get a powerhouse set of lenses for not a lot of money. So
those are lenses that can last a long time on a lot of different cameras. This Tokina makes some very solid, housed, very nice optic lenses. I look forward to seeing that Super 35 mid-range zoom. That's the only place I'm really lacking. If you've seen any network stuff, you've seen me have to work around that space a little bit. But thank you for taking the time. I look forward to seeing that announcement.
Yep, real soon.
Real soon. Okay, well, you let me know. Maybe we can do. You let me know, and we'll do another chat like this on that specific announcement. And
yeah, we'll break it here and give you a 4-hour head start or something.
Okay. Well, this is edited too, so we can NDA it if you need to.
Yeah.
But thank you for taking the time.